Hey, what's up? Welcome back, North Florida Sports Network. It's January 3rd. Coming at you live. It's about 10 o'clock. Just got back from the FSU basketball game, but we're joined this time with Keith Hadley from Fangs Up podcast. Man, we were actually going to talk about all these recruits. Willie Taggart's been snagging in the transfer portal, but he has now taken the job under Manny Diaz at Duke, the running back coach. So we still got Keith on. We're gonna talk to him about that and the impact of that for FAMU. If you haven't done so, download and subscribe to Fangs Up podcast. That's Keith's podcast. You can download and do that anywhere where you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Keith, man, what's going on?
Yeah, not much. A lot of consternation about the happenings on the highest of 7 hills, but not too much else, man. Just we're in the weeds right now of who's going to be the next coach and all that talk.
Yeah, I know, man. It's shocking, to see, because you saw all the commits in the transfer portal. So he was working all the way up to the end. That's good to see. But what was your first reaction here? Were you not surprised? Did you think this was coming, or what was your first reaction?
I'll say I won't say completely surprised. I guess the surprise was that it was Duke, more so than it was that he was leaving. And I also felt like if he left, it would be for a coordinator position, not a position coach. But when you started to look at the money that Duke threw in, was literally double the salaries made at FAMU.
Right.
And also you started looking at him and Manny Diaz have a pre-existing relationship. Manny Diaz's son was actually on the coaching staff at FAMU. You started to see where, they go back.
Right.
So where Middle Tennessee State, where Willie Simmons was there and whatnot. So it really starts to make a little bit of sense, but it makes a lot more sense when you really start looking at Willie Simmons honest. Willie Simmons is wanting to move up, and he's never hid that. He's been very transparent about his desire to one day become a coach at the FBS level. And you can only do that at FAMU for so long, especially he's 43 years old.
Right.
If he stays at FAMU for 10 years, he's really he will have missed his window. Right.
And what a 6 seasons for Willie Simmons. I'm sorry, goodness gracious, not Willie Taggart.
They came in together, so it's understandable.
Right. And gosh, who would have known? He was far and away a better coach. It's just the opportunity was there because, one other coach was under a certain other coach, and it's crazy how that opportunity and how risky and how fine that line is. Because I agree with you. I thought he was going to get a coordinator job, and I was like, who's calling plays? But when you think about it, and then like you said, the history and the coaching that they had together, it makes sense. But looking back, there's nothing more else you can do at FAMU. But where does FAMU go from here?
I'm hearing a few names. We definitely heard Billy Roll, but that was shot down just because if you listen to the verbiage, he retired. So one of the things about when you do retire, especially at the drop program, you got to sit out for 6 months. So this is kind of the backside of, he'd have to sit out for 6 months, which would decimate your recruiting class. But the name that is kind of starting to resonate now is Trey Oliver, the coach at North Carolina Central University. And I'm not breaking news. It's somebody else has mentioned him, and I've had talks with others we've talked about him in private. It would be a pay raise. He makes about $185,000 North Carolina Central. He comes to FAMU. He's going to get a base pay about $250 at least. You also move to a state with no state income tax.
Right.
You just see what the Rattler Boosters and the alumni associations have done as far as within a 48-hour period, they've raised a couple $100,000. So you started to look at that.
That's because they knew, and also they knew they had what they had in Coach Simmons, and it, go back to, I think, what he's done at the program. What did you see? Where was the can you take us through where he took the program from his time into where it is now?
I mean, he turned chicken feces into chicken salad.
Yeah.
It was a program that was riddled in mediocrity. Uh, the Alex Wood era was an abject disaster. Before that, you have the Earl Holmes era, which is another disaster. I mean, really, your last coach that was halfway decent was Joe Taylor, and his last season he quits after he only wins 3 games, and it's looking like the plane is falling into the side of a mountain. So Simmons literally comes into a lost decade of football. I mean, look at that decade where Willie Simmons comes in. Both FAMU and FSU are terrible programs. I mean, you got Jimbo coming at the end of not really giving a flying heck, and then you got FAMU who just couldn't get out of its own way. And so he comes in, he flips that program, he turns it around from being a program that, okay, we can't win in any place, to where, you're winning on the football field, and then you address the issues of winning in the classroom. Yeah. So now he fixed the program.
Right.
He did everything he was supposed to do at FAMU. He really did. And he did what Dion didn't. He delivered a trophy.
That's right. That's a good point. And, what else could you ask for? And I think it's because of the familiarity that he has with Manny Diaz. But I thought he was going to he's still got to have that in mind. And he's an ACC guy. So I think wanting to coach in the ACC too was probably played in a factor too. You think?
I think it played a small factor, but you also consider, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Florida State's not long for the ACC. So if Florida State's not long for this conference, how long are the top dogs going to stay there? And then what kind of doors does that open up for a Duke to come in there, and all of a sudden you can fill in that void really quickly. And we've seen Duke be one of the better teams in the ACC this year. Right. 2 years after a coaching change, or they're rolling on coaching change.
I like the hire that Duke made off losing Elko. What do you think?
I don't like Manny Diaz, but no? I don't like Manny Diaz. No, I don't. To me, I think he does fit the private schools. I mean, his success was at Temple, a private school, but his biggest failure was at Miami, another private school. So it's the good of going back to a private school where football is not the top sport. You're not going to be the main guy, and nobody really cares. But at the same point, they've invested. Duke is invested in Wallace Wade Stadium, the facilities. Right. They're actually really nice facilities.
Yeah. I remember I went there when there was the track. The track around the field, That's where I went. And I remember that. But like you said, Manny Diaz, you don't like him as the head coach because he's proven to be a good coordinator. Yeah, and I agree with that. That's a fair assessment. I wouldn't want him as defensive coordinator either. If I'm being honest. I mean, I just, and it's nothing against the guy. It's nothing personal. If I saw him, I understand.
Street, but it's just, for me, when I like to judge a person by their track record. A liar is a liar. Truth is a truth maker.
Well,
and for me, Manny, even going back to Texas, he had a few good years, but how much of that was, and this is any coach, how much of this is talent? Yeah. But even when he was in Miami, it just didn't blow my socks off. So that's, for me, I don't know. Yeah. And I feel like Duke is probably his last real chance at a big time Power 4 coaching spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you had to, how long do you think until FAMU names the coach here, if you had to guess?
I'm going to give it sadly, I'm going to give it about a month or two because of our AD. But traditionally, it's a 3-month thing because FAMU has a very bad habit of trying to create committees, and it's very, there's a lot of nepotism that goes on at my university, and it's a lot of, you got to know this person to get there. And even the considering of Trey Oliver is nepotism. Trey Oliver works with A.D. Sykes at Grambling State University. Right. She works there in athletics and compliance. He works there as a football coach. He gets his master's from there. And now that he has left, gone to North Carolina Central, he does beat Deion Sanders in that prime time team.
Is there any trying to keep any of this staff together? I know the recruiting guys, he off to Colorado, or what about Ryan Smith?
As far as I know, the hope is that you can keep at least the defensive side. Right. Offensively, I mean, there's really nothing to keep offensively.
Right. The wide receiver, but that dark cloud defense, though, I mean,
Yeah,
you
you
can
got to
keep
keep
some
them.
sort of intact, with the Coach Smith there. That would be a big
Yeah,
pickup for whoever's tasked with the new job.
yeah, you keep all of them. And the worst of it is, with your offensive coordinator, he was really the offensive line coach. So
Yeah.
Willie Simmons was calling all the plays. So if you thrust him into the offensive coordinator position, does the offense look the same? Does the offense have any semblance, or do you just wash it and start anew? So you really have to find an offensive coach, and I think that kind of bites um, your co-head coach
Right.
Smitty Rock in the tail, because he's the
Right.
defensive coordinator and the co-head coach, but he doesn't get named the interim head coach, which I definitely felt some type of way about that. And
Well, yeah.
after
What's
working
up
for
with
different
that?
color. I mean, I think it's the elephant in the room to a certain degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Makes sense.
country boy from Perry,
That's
worked
true.
at HBCU,
That's
but
true. But that's why
he
you
ain't
want
got
to
the
make
B on
sure
him.
if he's willing to stick around, or, whoever that you're thinking about getting for the position, I think that's probably one of the reasons Coach Simmons, any head coach is going to want to get some for his staff, but at certain places, that's where you can't really do that. Is that what, cause I know
Um,
that Coach, that he probably wanted to get his staff probably some raises too.
that was part of it, and one of the things, they were over, I want to say about $200,000 raised for coaches' salary. So it wasn't specifically
Yeah,
for Willie. That's going to go to the coaching and the coaching staff, and
wow.
on some of that, some of the coaches may have to do some additional things as far
Right.
as schooling and other things, so that they can, follow, so that the university hits its compliance rules as far as hiring degreed people and stuff like that. But it's just one of those things where, like you said, you got to keep this staff together as much as possible, especially defensively. Offensively,
Right. Well, what about
it
now?
is
Because
what it
the
is.
recruiting, like you have to you need to come. I mean, I know if you're going to take time to make a decision here, but maybe to just be like, hey, we got some sort of person here. Otherwise, that's going to be tough to do. I've seen a couple of the FSU players that had committed had now reopened their recruitment.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Because new coach comes in, him and Riz, like, are you committing to these same players?
Right.
And some of this is you got to fill in some of the gaps. I mean, you're losing
Right.
players like General Hunt has entered the transfer portal. He's already received Division I offers. So you gotta fill in this depth. And
Yeah.
you really don't have a month to play around.
Right.
The next national signing day is in February.
Right. That's
and
what I was getting at.
it's a month away.
I think you need to, hopefully, you've had a list, and you've been thinking about this, that's what you have hoped, and you're not kind of blindsided, and you had your list and you have that, but because you need to expedite it as soon as possible, you need to get through all that bureaucracy and get to a hire so he can get players, because you can get transfers nowadays and so much more talent on an annual basis. So
it's a must, man. I mean, honestly, and as an AD, to me, you need a rolling list for your three major sports, and especially one of the things Tiffany Dawn Sykes is going to get something that not a lot of ADs get, and Michael Alford is going to be right there with her. You're going to be hiring all your revenue producing sports under your tutelage. I mean, consider. I know I saw FSU won tonight, but let's call it a spade a spade.
Right.
Leonard Hamilton ain't long for that program.
No.
And I like him.
Oh, I love Coach Ham.
You can't lose to Lipscomb.
No.
You can't lose to.
They got a good team though
teams
for that conference stuff.
Right.
But I tell you what, that game's changed, and like you can't compete with football because all the money's going there, and it's like, well, we're not going to be able to pay the best players in basketball. That's just the bottom line. I mean, Cleveland just left. He was like our guy here. He's just another dude on Miami. Just dunking the ball in the alley-oops. But they did look deep. They were deeper than they had been. They actually had some guys. They got Primo Spears eligibility back. That's big for them. I like he's be able to score the ball, because unfortunately Jalen Warley can't. He can do everything else but score. Well, hey, man.
And,
Yeah. What's the
and that's the problem, man.
Yeah, that
It's going to be
is
interesting, though. It's going to be interesting. And like I said, I think what the alumni showed in the past couple of weeks was that you better get your stuff together, because
right.
far too often the alumni groups, especially the boosters, I'm a booster member. I sit in most of their meetings.
Right.
They're asked to shell out and roll out checks, and they
Right.
never say no.
Okay.
You hire the wrong person, you're going to get some no's.
Right. So you need to make sure that you do your due diligence here for not only the boosters, but the football team itself. And you need to have those things in motion.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, because you got a lot of momentum right now. FAMU's,
you got momentum,
and
man.
you need to, It's all right. Willie is just moving on. It's not, and I think you need to take some of that money and get it to the right candidate so he can get in here and keep that momentum rolling. Keith, man, I really appreciate you coming on and trying to break this down for us. And we'll talk to you coming up in the future, man. Hopefully sooner after this hire is made than what you said, a couple of months, man. I hope it's sooner than that.
Man, I hope so too.
All right, Keith, man. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, bro.
All right.
We had to go.
All right, we got to get on out of here. I'd like to thank Keith Hadley from Fangs Up coming on. Hope FAMU finds the next coach sooner rather than later. And good luck to Coach Simmons. FSU Hoops with the big win tonight over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Coach Damon Stoudemire. The Noles 31-60 from the field, shooting 51% and they shot 41% from beyond the arc. That'll get done. Over 40% there. 76% from the free throw line. They out-rebounded the Yellow Jackets 38-31. So that's, another 7 steals for the Noles. They lead the ACC there. So there's some bright spots there. Let's get to the individual players. It was a career high for Chandler Jackson off the bench for 14 points. He led the way. Jameer Watkins had 11 all in the second half. Darren Green Jr. had 10. Primo Spears had 10. Baba Miller had 8. Worley had 9, so a balanced effort. Corin had 6. Bull Bowen with 6. Galen Gainey with 4. House had a 3. Nickelberry with a free throw. So it was a well-balanced effort. I'll tell you what, they need to get Baba Miller the ball more and get him more aggressive, because he can get a lot of shots off, high percentage shots off easily. I think he's got to learn to be the dominant player on this team and get more shots up. Because I saw the moves inside. I liked it tonight. You need to keep doing that. Spears has been a nice addition. If he can stay under control and stop throwing those lobs to another bad lob. He had one in the last game. But that's been a nice addition. He's been playing at the end of the games as opposed to Worley. But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep watching it as the ACC season is about to get underway. We'll keep an eye on the transfer portal. Jimmy Reno's hanging out right over there in the cusp of it, looking at it and see what's going on. And we'll do all that, and we'll talk to you next time right here on the North Florida Sports Network.
We had to go. Our ride was here. We got a shuttle to our